So after we learned a little bit about the Selenium IDE and some of its useful features, we had to get into element identification, which is one of the most crucial pieces of Selenium WebDriver, which is also one of the disadvantages in that Selenium WebDriver doesn't come with a useful element identification tool like UFT has the object recognition tool, right? The object spy. So that's one of the negatives of Selenium WebDriver, in that you have to spend a lot more time trying to identify elements. But the beauty is that once you learn how to identify elements well, you're not going to rely on that tool to help you with element identification. In fact, that tool is great. A helper tool is great with element identification, but a lot of times we cannot identify an element just by using the tool. We have to know more than that. And so we spent a bunch of time learning about element identification. We learned all of the different identifiers, right? Like by ID, which is our number one preference. If it has an ID, use it. We learned how to use class name. We learned how to use a little bit of CSS. We learned how to use link text. And we especially sat down and learned how to master XPath. XPath is probably the best tool that you have in your toolbox to use for locating web elements. Whenever the going gets tough and you cannot identify an element, XPath is what you fall back on to be able to identify almost any element at any time. And so we went through a bunch of different scenarios where we were identifying different elements, some with IDs, some without IDs. In fact, let me bring up that page here just so you guys can see what we did. We learned, right, all the different elements. We learned how to click buttons and how they can have different locators. We learned XPath locators, complicated XPath locators. We learned how to click on links and icons. We learned how to click on the name field using the by.id, using XPath, using these wild characters to help us replace our tags. We learned different other elements like radio buttons and toggles and tabs, and we learned how to write into fields. And we even learned a little bit about HTML, because HTML, a little knowledge about HTML is very critical in knowing how to identify elements. We also spent a lot of time on working with HTML tables, because HTML tables are so important for us. And they are probably one of the most complicated web elements because of this weird structure. Well, it's not weird, it makes a lot of sense, but it's a complicated structure of a lot of nested elements. And so we learned how to work with the HTML tables. We learned how to dig inside and find, let's say, this table, this cell value based on the row and the column intersection. And we even wrote a bunch of lines of code that would help us do that based on this tr tag that we pass in and the table header tag that we pass in, this guy right here. And so that intersection would allow us to find this guy. And we had a huge help along the way, which was this website right here, qtptutorial.net/automation practice, which really helped us to practice different identification techniques on different types of elements. And this site will definitely keep growing. Please submit your demands. Let us know what you're struggling with, and we will be able to create more and more elements here for you guys to practice. But you can come here at any time. It's completely free, and utilize this page to practice identifying things based on your techniques. You can use it kind of like a test to make sure that your code is actually working appropriately.